Okay, we continue part two of labor law, book one. Our next topic would be human resource and manpower development. In the law of TESDA, which is the TESDA Act of 1994, the legislature or the Congress has declared a policy of the state, which is that the state will provide relevant, accessible, high quality, and efficient technical education and skills development in support of the development of high quality Filipino middle level manpower responsive to and in accordance with Philippine development goals and priorities. So many development. This is actually the policy of the state. So in the light of this declaration of the state, then comes TESDA. TESDA is also known as the Technical Educational and Skills Development Authority. Now, this agency is responsible for formulating, continuing, coordinating, and fully integrating technical education of learners and apprentices. So who are learners? Learners are persons hired as trainees in semi-skilled and other industrial occupations. These occupations are non-apprenticable, while apprentices occupying positions which are apprenticable jobs are those who are practically trained on the job and supplemented by related theoretical instruction. So we will distinguish learners and apprentices. The term of learners, the term of employment should not exceed 3 months, while apprentices should not exceed 6 months. Now in learners, after 3 months, the learner will become a regular employee of the employer, of the trainer. No? It says here, down here in the bottom, employer commitment to hire. Yes, after the end of 3 months. But in apprentices, the employer has no commitment to hire the apprentice at the end of 6 months. Also, the age requirement in learners should be at least 18 years old, while in apprentices, it's between 15 to 18 years old. For wage, it would be the same, 75% of the minimum wage, as well as that of the apprentice. There are exceptions in apprentice. In the case of apprentices, so there is wage is not given when it is a requirement for school or for graduation purposes, for taking the board exams, or as a training program of the curriculum that he is enrolling. So when should a learnership commence? So there are 5 here. If there is no experienced worker available, and the hiring of the learner is to prevent curtailment of employment opportunities, and it's not to create unfair competition in labor costs and lower working standards, and it's covered by a learnership agreement, and the list of learnable trades is provided by TESDA. If you have a business, you just cannot say that, like if for instance you have a coffee shop, and you are hiring a learner for your for your bartenders. Now you cannot you cannot on your own state that it is a learnable trade. It has to be TESDA who will provide or authorize the learnership program. On the other hand, in the case of apprentices, the apprentice shall commence the practical training on the job, which are supplemented by related theoretical instructions when it is already covered by a written apprenticeship agreement between the apprentice and that of the trainer, no, or the establishment. Now, since the apprentices here are between the ages of 15 to 18 years of age, so meaning below 18, actually this is below 18, they cannot sign or enter into a contract, so the guardian of the person who is applying for apprentice or the parent must be the one signing for the in behalf of the apprentice. So the apprenticeship program must be approved by the DOLI. So in the case of apprentice, it is the DOLI, while in the case of learners, it is authorized or provided by TESDA. Okay, so we'll proceed with now the main gist of labor standards, which is the working conditions of employees. So the first topic of working condition is the hours of work or work hours in establishments. So it is required by law that work hours should not exceed 8 hours. So meaning there is no prohibition as to part-time work or 6 hours work a day or a day's work of less than 8 hours. So allowed schemes for hours of work, which is an exception to the 8-hour policy. Number one is compressed work week. Yeah, I think this is the only one. This is resorted in hospitals or medical staffs like the nurses or in distressed companies in order to prevent serious losses or when there is substantial slump of demand of their product. So in compressed work week, the 6 days work of 8 hours a day, which is equivalent to 48 hours a week, is compressed only to 4 days. And that is for a shift of 12 hours. No? So 12 hours times 4 days is still 48 hours a week. So here, the employee works for 4 days in a week, but has 3 days off. But would it mean overtime? There is no overtime in this case because this is allowed by law. No, these are allowed schemes, compressed work week. But working beyond 12 hours is already subject to overtime premium pay. As part of working condition, there is a rest or meal break allowed in between the 8 hours work. However, if the employee is taking 1 hour lunch break, it is non-compensable, meaning there is no payment, no 1 hour break time. But if the lunch break is less than 20 minutes, it is already compensable, meaning it has already part of hours of work. Or how is hours of work? Now, it is only allowed if the work is non-manual in nature or does not involve strenuous physical exertion, like a cashier in the establishment or a analyst in the establishment, no? Or a load controller in an aircraft or airline, or when the establishment operates more than 16 hours a day, like Philippine Airlines, it used to operate uh, 20 hours a day, or when the work is necessary to prevent serious loss of perishable goods, or when there is an actual or impending emergencies to be done on machineries, equipment, or installations to avoid serious loss to the employer. Again, ER means employer. So this is allowed 20 minutes lunchtime, but it is compensable. Okay. In between 8 hours, the employee is also allowed coffee breaks, which runs from 5 minutes to 20 minutes and is deemed as part of hours of work, and therefore compensable, so has paid. Now, there are principles in determining the hours work of an employee. Number one, all the hours worked by the employee to give to his employer, whether such hours are spent in productive labor or involve physical or mental exertion. Number two, when working beyond the shift is still part of hours of work, if the work performed is necessary or benefits the employer, or employee cannot abandon his work because there is no replacement, provided that the employer or his immediate superior or supervisor has been informed or has knowledge to the fact. Number three, when there are work interruptions beyond employee's control and causing him inactive, like for instance, he is a plant worker and he's operating a machinery and there is electricity interruption, like a brownout for 2 hours. So he is therefore inactive. But is he is he still going to be paid? Yes, the answer is yes, because this is beyond the control of the employee. So it is deemed as part of worked hours if the imminence of resumption of work requires the employee to be present, or if the interval is too brief to be utilized effectively by the employee. No? Like he wants to go to SM, but SM is so far. He wants to buy something for his children. So, but he cannot because the employer would not allow, or the interruption is so brief, like only for 30 minutes or 1 hour. Number four, waiting time spent by an employee is work time. If waiting is an integral part of his work, or the employee is required by the employer to wait. No? This includes on-call employees, where waiting was done outside employer's premises as long as the employee cannot make use of the time effectively for his own purpose. So waiting time is still work hours of work. No? This usually the case of drivers, of executives, like the president of the corporation. And the driver is waiting for the president when the president attends meeting in different places. No, like his boss is still in a business meeting with other executives. So the driver is required to wait for the employer. So while waiting, he is paid. Number five, full-time teachers are paid during semestral breaks since it is a form of interruption beyond their control. So teachers in colleges and universities during semestral breaks are paid. How about travel time? When is it part of hours of work? So time spent by an employee in traveling as part of his principal activity, like travel from one job site to another during the workday. So this kind of traveling is part of hours of work. For instance, I am an engineer, and the my employer is Globe Telecommunications, and I am in charge of maintaining several cell sites. So I have to go one cell site to another cell site. So my travel time from one cell site to another cell site is considered as part of hours of work. Also, when travel that keeps an employee away from home overnight, say you are going to go to, I'm going to go to Bohol to troubleshoot something there as an engineer. So this time I'll take the ferry boat or ferry to Bohol, and while away from home overnight, then I am paid. Or where employee is made to work on an emergency call and travel is necessary in proceeding to the workplace. Or when travel is done through a conveyance provided by the employer, or where travel is done under the supervision and control of the employer, or under vexing and dangerous circumstances, even though it's not the employer is providing the conveyance or controlling the travel. So in this uh, last part, it is still part of hours of work. Okay, let's proceed to the second working condition, which is overtime pay. Now, after an employee exceeds an 8-hour shift within the 24-hour period or one day, so more than 8 hours work will entitle him for overtime pay. So OT or overtime on a regular day will be computed by multiplying 25% to the regular wage. So if your regular wage is 400 pesos a day, it is computed by dividing 400 pesos divided by 8 hours, and you will get 50 pesos per hour. So you multiply 25% or 50 pesos times the number of overtime hours. You will get overtime pay. On the other hand, overtime on a holiday or employee's rest day, meaning day off, will entitle the employee 30% additional of the regular 8 hours, or the rate of first 8 hours on a holiday plus 30% thereof. Okay, for the first 8 hours. So for the first 8 hours, if the employee works on a holiday or rest day, or overtime on the rest day, would be 30%. Okay. So overtime pay is computed hourly, and the formula to compute the hourly rate is daily wage earner hourly rate equals daily wage divided by 8. So I have already given example. If 400 pesos is the daily wage, divided by 8, that gives you 50 pesos per hour. And in the case of monthly employees, monthly paid employees, the hourly rate is computed by the monthly pay or salary times 12 months and divided by the number of days worked per year, or the number of days he is paid per year. No? So number of days work in a year or paid in a year is 365 days minus the number of days off per year minus the number of holidays per year. So number of days off, if there is only one day off a week, that gives you minus 52 because there are 52 weeks in 1 year. Number of holidays per year, there are 12 holidays per year. So 365 minus 52 and minus 12. Compulsory overtime work. So when is overtime work compulsory? Number one, when the country is at war or national or there is local emergency. Number two, when the completion of work started before the 8 hour and is necessary to prevent serious obstruction or prejudice to the business. So here the employer can compel the employee to render overtime work. Number three, when there is urgent work on machines to avoid serious loss or damage to the employer. Number four, when it is necessary to prevent loss of life, property, or imminent danger to public safety. Number five, when necessary to prevent loss or damage to perishable goods. Number six, necessary to avail of favorable weather or environmental condition. So overtime pay is not offsetted when the employee makes an undertime. So if you render overtime pay, it should not be offsetted with undertime pay because undertime pay does not carry a premium, while overtime pay, the employee is given premium pay of 25% on a regular day or 30% if it's a holiday or rest day. So the employee will lose that premium if it is offsetted, meaning no overtime pay because the employee made an undertime. Okay, now we go to night differential or night shift differential. NSD, this is NSD. Employee shall be paid a NSD or night shift differential of not less than 10% of his regular wage for each hours of work performed between the hours 10 o'clock in the evening up to 6 o'clock the following day. So additional premium pay of 10% as night shift differential. So to compute night shift differential, it's 10% times the regular wage per hour, and then times the number of hours work between 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So if the shift is 4 p.m. to 12 p.m., if an employee works between the hours 4 p.m. to 12 p.m., that's 8 hours. So he is entitled to night shift differential from 10 o'clock in the evening up to 12 midnight. Okay. So if work done between 10 a.m. to 6 a.m. is overtime work, this time it's overtime work, then the night shift differential should be based on the overtime rate. So there are employees who are not covered by night shift differential: the government, employees or its political subdivisions, retail and service establishments regularly employing not more than 5 workers, domestic helpers and persons in personal service of another, managerial employees, and field personnel. This also applies to overtime. Okay, weekly rest days. So these are the days off in a week. So this applies to all employers, whether operating for profit or not, including public utilities operated by private persons. So business, also for businesses which operates on Sundays and holidays. So they should provide their employees weekly rest day, which should which could fall during the week, no? Instead of Sunday. Then they will give their employee rest day on Wednesday or Thursdays, for instance, for example. So weekly rest day. So every employer shall give his employees a rest period of not less than 24 consecutive hours or 1 day after every 6 consecutive normal work days. So if you work for 6 days in a week, so you're entitled to 1 day off as your rest day. Now, employees' preference of rest days shall be respected by the employer if it is based on religious grounds. Say, for example, an employee is a Muslim and he cannot work during Fridays because it is their church day. You know? So the employer will respect that. Or to Seventh-day Adventists or Seventh-day Adventists, they are the Sabbatistas, no? So they don't work on Saturdays. So based on this religious excuse, the employer should give preference to the employees' request for a day off on a Saturday. So what is required of the employee is to write to the employer his preference or preference day off at least 7 days before the desired effectivity. Now, the weekly schedule of rest days is given to all employees simultaneously in writing or notice posted conspicuously in the workplace at least 1 week before the effectivity date. So it should be posted in a conspicuous area in the workplace where all employees is notified at least a week before its effectivity date. Let's go to holidays with pay. Holiday or Sunday. A legal holiday falling on a Sunday creates no legal obligation for the employer to pay extra, aside from the usual holiday pay to its monthly paid employees. Okay, so if a holiday would fall on a Sunday, there is no obligation on the employer to pay extra, except for monthly paid employees, because they are considered already paid. For successive regular holidays like the Holy Thursdays and Good Friday, an employee may not be paid for both holidays if he is absent from work the day immediately preceding the first holiday. So if the employee was absent on the Monday, Wednesday, so the day before Holy Thursday, then he cannot be paid for both holidays. Only entitles him for one holiday pay. But if he's present on a Wednesday, so he's entitled for the holiday pay for Thursdays and Friday, the Good Friday. So to entitle him for holiday pay on the second holiday, he should work on the first holiday, no? Because he was absent on a Wednesday. So in order to cope up with his absent day, he should work on Holy Thursday. So in this case, he can be paid in both holidays. So here, the requirement should be that the employee must be present on the day immediately preceding the first holiday or be on leave with pay. There are so many wrong spelling here. So these are the holidays of the year. New Year's Day, Monday, Thursdays, movable date, Good Friday, Araw ng Kagitingan na April 9, Labor Day, May 1, Independence Day, June 12, Adha movable date, National Heroes Day, the last Sunday of August, the Bonifacio Day, November 30, Eid al-Fitr, movable date, then December 25, Christmas Day, and Rizal Day on December 30. The special days, which are non-working days, public holidays, national holiday, All Saints Day, last day of the year, and Ninoy Aquino Day on August 21. These are the special non-working or special non-working days. So let's go to computing premium pay on holidays. Now, if the employer and the employee does not work on a regular holiday, he is still paid by how much? 100% of his basic of his daily pay. So if he gets 400 pesos per day, so he's paid even though he is not working. Also on regular day, holiday, which falls on his rest day. So still 100%. In the case of special holiday, if he does not work, there is no premium pay. If he works on a regular holiday, then for the first 8 hours, he's entitled to 200%. So that's 100% plus additional 100% equals 200%. So the regular holiday entitles an employee working on that day twice his daily wage. So as an example, 400 pesos becomes 800 pesos working for the first 8 hours. But in a regular holiday, which falls on his rest day, if he works, then he gets 200% plus 30%. So that would be 230% all in all. While in a special holiday, if he works on the first 8 hours, he gets 30% additional rate. So all in all, 130%. In excess of 8 hours, it would be additional 30%. So 200% plus 30%, that would give him 230% of the hourly rate of the day. So 30% of the 200%. So this becomes 60. So 260%. Also, in the case of regular holiday falling on the rest day, while in special holiday, it would be the same 30%, and falling on his rest day, the rate would be 50% in the first 8 hours, then additional 30% of the hourly rate in excess of 8 hours. If the day is a special holiday falling on the employee's rest day. So we have a note here for 2 successive holidays like the Holy Week. To get holiday pay on both days, the employee must work the day prior, or if he absent, must work on the first holiday.